The galaxy was burning, and Earth watched from the shadows. For 300 years, two massive empires had fought each other across the stars. The Vrathan Empire controlled the northern spiral arm with its massive warships and warrior culture. The Keswick Coalition held the southern territories with superior numbers and advanced shields. Thousands of worlds had been destroyed. Trillions of lives had been lost. The war seemed endless. Earth had only joined the galactic community 20 years ago. A Vrathan scout ship had detected radio signals coming from the small blue planet and investigated. What they found surprised them. Humans had developed faster than expected. They had colonies on their moon and Mars. They had basic fusion reactors and were building their first prototype faster than light engine. The Vrathan immediately tried to recruit Earth into their empire. The Keswick Coalition heard about the discovery and sent their own diplomats within months. Both sides wanted humanity's help in the war. Yunwu stood in the United Earth Council chambers and remembered that first contact clearly. He had been a junior diplomat then, watching as the alien representatives made their grand speeches. The Vrathan commander had been tall and covered in dark scales, promising Earth power and territory if they joined the Empire. The Keswick ambassador had multiple arms and spoke through a translator device, offering technology and protection. Now, 15 years later, Yunwu was Earth's chief ambassador to the galaxy. His answer had never changed. Earth remains neutral, he said firmly to the Vrathan general who stood before him. The holographic communication made the alien look even more imposing, but Hyunwoo had learned not to be intimidated. "We will not take sides in your war." The general's eyes flashed with anger. "Your people are foolish. The galaxy respects only strength. Neutrality is weakness." "Perhaps," Hyunwoo replied calmly, "but it is our choice to make." The transmission ended abruptly. Hyunwoo sighed and looked out the window of the orbital station. Earth floated below, beautiful and peaceful. He intended to keep it that way. Across the solar system, Captain Ji-won sat in the command chair of the ESS Horizon, Earth's largest warship. It was barely a frigate by galactic standards, but it was the pride of humanity's small defense fleet. She monitored the sensor displays that tracked ship movements throughout the sector. "Another battle in the Kepler region," her tactical officer reported. "Looks like a major engagement. At least 40 capital ships on each side." Ji-won studied the data. The battle was 12 light-years away, far enough that Earth was safe but close enough to be concerning. The war had been creeping steadily toward human space for the past 5 years. "Keep monitoring," she ordered. "I want updates every hour." Her crew went back to work. Ji-won had served in Earth's Navy for 18 years, since she was 20 years old. She had watched the fleet grow from a handful of patrol boats to a respectable defensive force, but she knew the truth that everyone in the military understood. If either the Vrathan or the Keswick decided to attack Earth seriously, humanity would lose. The aliens had weapons that could crack planets. They had shields that could withstand nuclear explosions. Their smallest fighters were faster and better armed than Earth's best ships. Humanity had survived this long only because both empires considered them too primitive and too far away to bother with. That suited Ji-won just fine. Let the aliens think humans were weak and irrelevant. Let them fight their stupid war and leave Earth alone. In the research facility on Luna, engineer Subin worked late into the night. Her laboratory was deep underground, hidden beneath hundreds of meters of rock and metal. Only a few dozen people in the entire solar system knew this place existed. She adjusted the settings on her testing apparatus and ran another simulation. The holographic display showed a ship entering faster than light travel, but using a completely different method than the aliens used. Where galactic ships used exotic matter to warp space, Subin's design used something else entirely, something humans had discovered on their own. The simulation completed successfully. Subin allowed herself a small smile. They were getting closer. "Still at it?" her assistant Dong-hyun asked, entering the lab with 2 cups of coffee. "Always," Subin replied, accepting the drink gratefully. "How are the weapon tests going?" Dong-hyun's expression turned serious. "Better than expected. The kinetic accelerators exceeded design specifications. The targeting AI is learning faster than we predicted, and the electronic warfare suite can crack Vrathan and Keswick encryption in under 2 minutes." Subin nodded slowly. Earth's secret weapons program had been running for 10 years, ever since the government realized that neutrality might not always protect them. If humanity ever needed to fight, They would need every advantage they could create. Good, she said. Keep it quiet. The longer the galaxy thinks we're harmless, the safer we are. On Mars colony, Soldier Minsu completed his training exercise and removed his helmet. The red dust of Mars covered everything, but he had grown used to it. He had been born here, in one of the first permanent settlements outside Earth. His squad gathered around as their instructor reviewed their performance. They had been practicing urban combat scenarios, preparing for threats that might never come. Minsu hoped they never would. He had joined the Colonial Defense Force to protect his home, not to fight in some galactic war. Good work today, the instructor said. You're dismissed. As the squad dispersed, Minsu's friend Kyung-soo walked beside him. Do you think we'll ever have to use this training for real? Minsu shrugged. I hope not. But my father always said it's better to have weapons and not need them than to need them and not have them. Your father was a wise man. They walked back to the barracks in silence. Above them, through the dome that protected the colony, they could see the stars. Somewhere out there, aliens were killing each other by the millions. Minsu was grateful that Earth had chosen to stay out of it. Back in the council chambers, Hyunwoo received another transmission. This time it was from the Keswick Coalition. Their ambassador was polite but insistent. Ambassador Hyunwoo, we must urge you to reconsider your position. The Vrathan are winning. If they achieve total victory, they will turn their attention to unaligned worlds like yours. Join us now while there is still time. Hyunwoo had heard this argument many times. We appreciate your concern, but Earth's position has not changed. We wish both sides would pursue peace instead of war. The Keswick ambassador made a gesture that the translator interpreted as frustration. Peace is not possible with the Vrathan. They understand only conquest. Your neutrality will not protect you forever. Perhaps not, Hyunwoo admitted. But for now it is enough. The transmission ended. Hyunwoo sat alone in the quiet chamber and wondered how long Earth's isolation could last. The galaxy was changing. The war was spreading. Sooner or later, humanity would be forced to make a choice. He just hoped that when that day came, Earth would be ready. The emergency alarm woke Tae-yang from a deep sleep. He rolled out of bed immediately, his military training taking over before his mind fully caught up. Red lights flashed in the corridor outside his quarters. Other colonists were emerging from their rooms, confused and frightened. What's happening? Someone shouted. Tae-yang pulled on his uniform and headed for the command center. He was the security chief for Harmony Station, one of Earth's agricultural colonies in the outer asteroid belt. 5,000 people lived here, growing food in massive hydroponic farms that fed the inner colonies. It was supposed to be the safest place in the solar system. The command center was chaos when he arrived. Station Director Haiwan was already there, her face pale as she stared at the main display. Report, Tae-yang demanded. The sensor operator, a young woman named Bo-Ra, turned to him with wide eyes. Ships, sir. 15 of them. Unknown configuration, but they matched the database profiles for Vrathan warships. They're surrounding the station. Tae-yang felt his blood run cold. Hail them. Ask what they want. Bo-Ra worked her console frantically. They're not responding to hails. Wait. Incoming transmission. The main screen flickered and showed the bridge of an alien warship. A Vrathan commander stared at them with cold eyes. His scales were scarred and burned. He looked like he had been fighting for a very long time. Human colony, the Vrathan said, his voice translated by their system. This is Commander Veltar of the Vrathan Empire. Your station contains supplies we require. You will surrender them immediately. Director Haiwan stepped forward. This is Director Haiwan of Harmony Station. We are a civilian agricultural facility. We are neutral in your war. Under galactic law, you cannot raid neutral territory. Veltar laughed. It was an ugly sound. Galactic law is for those with strength to enforce it. You have no strength. You will comply or be destroyed. We are citizens of Earth, Haiwan said firmly. If you attack us, Earth will respond. Your primitive planet? Veltar sneered. We have fought the Keswick Coalition for 300 years. We do not fear humans. You have 10 minutes to open your cargo bays. If you resist, we will take what we need from your wreckage. The transmission cut off. Tae-yang looked at Haiwan. We need to evacuate. Get everyone to the escape pods. There are 5,000 people on this station, Haiwan said desperately. We only have pods for 3,000. This was supposed to be a safe colony. We never thought I know, Tae-yang interrupted. But we have to try. Sound the evacuation alarm. Get the children and elderly to the pods first. I'll try to buy us time. As Heywan activated the evacuation protocols, Taeyang opened a secure channel to Earth. The message would take 8 minutes to reach the home planet. He prayed someone was listening. This is Security Chief Taeyang of Harmony Station. We are under attack by Vrathan forces. They are demanding our supplies. We are evacuating but have insufficient escape capacity. We need immediate assistance. Repeat, we are under attack. He sent the message and turned to his small security team. There were only 12 of them, armed with basic weapons meant for dealing with accidents and disputes, not alien warships. Spread out through the station, he ordered. Help with the evacuation. If the Vrathan board us, do what you can to slow them down. The 10 minutes passed too quickly. Taeyang watched as hundreds of colonists crowded into escape pods. Families were torn apart. Parents pushed their children into pods and stayed behind. Young people gave their spots to the elderly. It was chaos and heroism mixed together. The Vrathan didn't wait for the full 10 minutes. The station shook as the alien ships opened fire. Not enough to destroy Harmony Station completely, just enough to cripple it. Explosions rocked the northern section. Atmosphere began venting into space. Alarms screamed throughout the facility. They're boarding, Bora reported, her voice shaking. Docking at 6 different points. Taeyang grabbed his weapon, a simple plasma rifle meant for emergencies. Launch all loaded pods. Do it now. The escape pods began ejecting from the station. Taeyang watched as they scattered into space, heading for the inner colonies. Maybe 2,000 people had made it off. That left 3,000 still on board. The first Vrathan soldiers came through the airlock near the command center. They were massive, over 2 meters tall, covered in armor that made them look even larger. They carried weapons that hummed with deadly energy. Taeyang fired at them. His plasma bolt hit the lead soldier's shield and dissipated harmlessly. The Vrathan returned fire. The shot went wide, but it punched a hole through the wall behind Taeyang. Fall back, he shouted. Get to the interior sections. But there was nowhere to run. The Vrathan were everywhere, moving through the station with military precision. They weren't trying to kill everyone, Taeyang realized. They were herding the colonists together, rounding them up like animals. In the central plaza, over 1,000 colonists were forced to their knees. Taeyang was among them, his weapon taken, his hands bound. He watched helplessly as the Vrathan soldiers moved through the crowd, separating people. The young and healthy were pulled to one side. The old and sick were left on the other. Commander Veltar walked through the plaza, inspecting his hall. He stopped in front of a woman holding a small child. The woman was young and strong. The child was maybe 5 years old. This one comes with us, Veltar said, pointing at the woman. The child stays. No, the woman screamed. Please, he's my son. A soldier grabbed her and pulled her away. The child cried and reached for his mother. Another colonist, an older man, scooped up the child and held him as the boy wept. Taeyang felt rage burning in his chest. He struggled against his restraints. You can't do this. The galaxy will... Veltar struck him across the face. Taeyang tasted blood. The galaxy will do nothing, Veltar said. We need workers for our factories. We need food for our armies. Your station will provide both. Consider yourselves lucky we didn't simply kill you all and take everything. Over the next hours, Taeyang watched as the Vrathan stripped Harmony Station of everything valuable. Food, equipment, medical supplies, even the hydroponic systems themselves were torn out and loaded onto the alien ships. 1,200 colonists, all young and healthy, were marched onto transport vessels. The rest were left behind on the crippled station with barely enough life support to survive. Taeyang's wife was among those taken. He watched her board the transport ship, her eyes finding his across the plaza. He tried to memorize her face, afraid he would never see her again. When the Vrathan ships finally departed, they left Harmony Station broken and dying. The remaining colonists worked frantically to seal hull breaches and restore life support. Director Haiwan coordinated the repairs with quiet determination, but Taeyang could see the despair in her eyes. They sent another message to Earth, this time with full details of what had happened. The response came 9 hours later. It was Ambassador Hyun-woo, his face grave. We have received your report. Emergency ships are being dispatched to Harmony Station with supplies and medical aid. The Council is convening now to discuss Earth's response. Taeyang sat in the damaged command center and stared at the message. Earth's response. What would that even mean? Humanity had stayed out of the Galactic War for 20 years. They had no real military power. The Vrathan had just proven that Earth's neutrality meant nothing. He thought of his wife, somewhere on a Vrathan ship, being taken to some unknown factory world to work as a slave. He thought of all the other colonists who had been stolen. He thought of the children left behind without parents. Something had to be done. Earth had to do something. But what could humanity possibly do against an empire that had fought for 300 years? What could a species that had barely reached the stars do against warships that could crack planets? Tai Yang didn't know. He only knew that if Earth did nothing, it would prove the Vrathan right. Humanity would be nothing but prey, weak and defenseless, waiting to be devoured by the stronger predators of the galaxy. He refused to accept that. Earth had to be more than that. Humanity had to be more than that. The United Earth Council chamber was silent as the last of the testimony finished. Tai Yang stood at the podium, his voice hoarse from speaking. He had told them everything. Every detail of the Vrathan attack. Every colonist taken. Every life destroyed. Ambassador Hyun-woo sat at the head of the council table, his hands folded in front of him. Around him sat the representatives from every major nation and colony. They had listened for 3 hours. Now they had to decide. "Thank you, Chief Tae-yang," Hyun-woo said quietly. "Please wait outside while we deliberate." Tae-yang nodded and left the chamber. He walked to the observation deck and stared at Earth below. His home planet looked so peaceful from here. It was hard to believe that somewhere out in the darkness his wife was a prisoner. Inside the chamber, the debate began immediately. "We must respond," said Representative Jae-sung from the Korean Federation. "The Vrathan have committed an act of war. If we do nothing, they will see us as weak. Others will follow." "And what exactly do you propose?" asked Representative Namgi from Mars Colony. "Our fleet consists of 42 ships. The Vrathan have thousands. One battle and humanity would be wiped out. So we should do nothing?" Jae-sung demanded. "We should abandon our own people?" "I'm not saying that," Namgi replied.
"I'm saying we need to be realistic."
"We cannot win a military confrontation with the Vrathan Empire." The argument continued, voices rising. Some demanded immediate military action. Others counseled caution and diplomacy. A few suggested appealing to the Keswick Coalition for help, though everyone knew that was unlikely to work. Finally, Hyun-woo raised his hand for silence. "There is another option, one that we have kept secret until now. I believe it is time to reveal the truth." He pressed a button on his console. A holographic display appeared in the center of the room, showing a schematic of a ship unlike anything the council members had seen before. "For 10 years, Hyun-woo said, Earth has been preparing for this possibility. We hoped it would never come. We prayed our neutrality would protect us. But some of us knew better. Some of us understood that hope was not a strategy." He gestured to the hologram. "This is the Shadow-class destroyer. We have built 20 of them in secret facilities throughout the solar system. They use technology that the galaxy has never seen. They are faster, more maneuverable, and carry weapons that can pierce alien shields." The council members stared in shock. "How?" Namgi breathed. "How did we keep this secret?" "With difficulty," Hyun-woo admitted. "And with the help of people who understood what was at stake. Engineer Soo-bin has led the development program. I believe it's time she explained what we have created." Soo-bin entered the chamber. She looked tired. She had been working for 18 hours straight since the news of the Harmony Station attack reached her, but her voice was steady as she spoke. "The Vrathan and Keswick use exotic matter to achieve faster-than-light travel," she explained. "It's effective, but it has limitations. We developed a different approach using quantum field manipulation. Our ships are faster and leave almost no detectable signature." She changed the hologram to show a weapon system. "This is our primary armament. Kinetic accelerators that fire projectiles at significant fractions of light speed. The aliens rely on energy shields. These shields are designed to deflect energy weapons and slow fast-moving objects. But our projectiles are too fast and too dense. They punch straight through." "What about their armor?" someone asked. "Their armor is designed to withstand energy weapons," Soo-bin replied. "A solid projectile moving at 0.3 light speed will penetrate any armor we've studied. The kinetic energy alone is devastating." Another hologram appeared showing complex code and electronic systems. "We also developed electronic warfare capabilities. The aliens use sophisticated computer systems to control their ships, but their encryption and firewalls are based on 300-year-old technology. Our AI can crack them in under 2 minutes. Once we're in their systems, we can disable weapons. Shields, engines, life support, anything. The council members looked at each other with a mixture of awe and fear. How many ships do we have that are combat ready? Jae-sung asked. 20 shadow destroyers, Subin said, plus modifications to 15 of our existing fleet ships. They've been retrofitted with the new weapons and electronic systems, and we have 800 fighter craft equipped with the same technology. Against a Vrathan fleet of unknown size, Namgi said, it still seems impossible. Perhaps, Subin acknowledged. But we have advantages beyond our technology. We've studied every battle the Vrathan have fought for the past 20 years. We know their tactics, their formations, their responses to different situations. They know nothing about us except that we're supposed to be weak. Hyunwoo stood. The question before this council is simple. Do we use these weapons? Do we go to war with the Vrathan Empire? Or do we accept that our people are lost and return to neutrality? The vote was unanimous. Earth would respond. In the secret military base on Titan, Min-soo received his deployment orders. He read them twice, unable to believe what he was seeing. His unit, the 1st Colonial Marines, was being activated for offensive operations. They were going to war. Around him, other soldiers were reading the same orders. The base, which had been quiet and routine for years, suddenly exploded with activity. Ships were being loaded. Weapons were being distributed. Briefings were scheduled. Min-soo's commanding officer, Colonel Won-shik, gathered the battalion in the main hangar. Behind him stood one of the new shadow destroyers, its black hull seeming to absorb light itself. I know you all have questions, Won-shik said. I'll answer what I can. Yes, we're going after the Vrathan who attacked Harmony Station. Yes, we're going to rescue our people. And yes, we're going to make the Vrathan regret they ever heard of humanity. A cheer went up from the assembled soldiers. Min-soo found himself cheering too, caught up in the moment. But underneath the excitement was fear. They were going to fight aliens who had conquered half the galaxy. They were Marines trained for colony defense, not interstellar warfare. As if reading his thoughts, Won-shik continued. You've all been training for years without knowing why. The urban combat drills, the boarding actions, the zero-gravity exercises, all of it was preparation for this. You're ready. Trust your training. Trust your equipment. Trust each other. The briefing continued for 2 hours. They learned about the new weapons they would carry. They learned about Vrathan biology and how to fight them. They learned about the ships they would be boarding and the tactics they would use. Min-soo paid attention to every word, committing it all to memory. His hands trembled slightly and he clenched them into fists. Fear was natural, his instructors had always said. The key was not to let it control you. Across the solar system, similar scenes played out. Captain Ji-won took command of the ESS Horizon, now retrofitted with the new weapon systems. Her crew trained intensively, learning how to operate equipment they hadn't known existed. Fighter pilots practiced with the new craft, marveling at their speed and responsiveness. In the diplomatic service, Hyunwoo prepared a message. It would be broadcast across the galaxy, transmitted to every known world. Earth's final warning before the storm. He recorded it himself, sitting alone in his office. This is Ambassador Hyunwoo of Earth, speaking on behalf of the United Earth Council. 3 days ago, Vrathan military forces attacked and raided our colony at Harmony Station. They stole supplies, destroyed infrastructure, and kidnapped over 1,200 of our citizens. This was an unprovoked act of war against a neutral party. His voice hardened. We demand the immediate return of all kidnapped colonists. We demand reparations for the damage done to our station. We demand a formal apology from the Vrathan Empire. You have 72 hours to comply. He paused, letting the silence stretch. If you do not meet our demands, Earth will respond with military force. We have remained neutral in your war for 20 years. We sought only peace, but you have shown us that peace is not possible with those who respect only strength. Another pause. Consider this your only warning. Return our people, or face the consequences. The message was transmitted. Within hours, it reached Vrathan and Keswick space. Both empires received it. So did hundreds of neutral worlds. The Vrathan response came quickly. Commander Veltar himself appeared in the transmission, laughing. The humans think they can threaten us. They have 40 ships. We have thousands. Let them come. We will crush them like insects and take their entire world as compensation for their insolence. The transmission was broadcast widely. Across the galaxy, other races watched with pity. Earth had overreached. The humans would be destroyed, and perhaps it was for the best. The galaxy had no room for naive children who thought they could stand against ancient empires. But in the secret facilities throughout the solar system, humanity prepared. 20 shadow destroyers departed their hidden bases, their quantum drives activating, their courses set for Vrathan space. Fighter squadrons launched. Marine battalions loaded into assault ships. The entire might of Earth's secret military, built over 10 years of preparation, moved toward war. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had never been weak. They had simply been waiting. Commander Veltar sat in his command chair, watching the sensor displays with satisfaction. His fleet of 15 warships orbited a factory world deep in Vrathan space. Below, on the planet's surface, the human colonists worked in the manufacturing facilities, producing weapons and supplies for the Empire. It had been a profitable raid. The food alone would feed 3 battle groups for months. The humans themselves were proving to be decent workers, better than some of the other species the Vrathan had conquered. Veltar considered it a complete success. "Commander," his sensor officer said, "we're detecting unusual readings at the edge of the system." Veltar barely glanced at the display. "Probably spatial anomalies. This system has unstable stellar activity. Sir, the readings are moving. Multiple contacts heading this way." Now Veltar paid attention. He leaned forward, studying the data. 20 objects moving faster than anything he had seen before, on a direct course for his position. "Identify them," he ordered. "Unable to identify, sir. They're not matching any known ship configurations in our database. Wait. They're slowing down, dropping out of faster-than-light travel." The objects appeared on the main display. They were ships, smaller than Vrathan cruisers but with an elegant predatory design. They were painted in black that seemed to drink in the light around them. "Human ships, sir," the sensor officer said, his voice uncertain. "Their design matches Earth's basic ship configuration, but these are much more advanced than anything in our intelligence reports." Veltar felt a moment of unease, then dismissed it. Humans were primitives. Whatever tricks they had developed, they couldn't threaten a Vrathan battle group. "All ships to battle stations," he ordered. "Prepare to engage." His fleet moved into formation, shields powering up, weapons charging. 15 warships against 20 human vessels. The odds were actually in the humans' favor numerically, but that meant nothing. A single Vrathan cruiser could destroy 5 human ships, or so Veltar thought. On board the ESS Horizon, Captain Jiwan watched the Vrathan fleet organize itself. Her shadow destroyer hung in space, its advanced sensors reading every detail of the enemy ships. Around her, 19 other Earth vessels maintained their positions, waiting. "All ships report ready," her tactical officer said. "Weapons?" Jiwan asked. "Kinetic accelerators charged and loaded. Electronic warfare suite active. Targeting solutions locked." Jiwan opened a channel to the fleet. "This is Horizon Actual. All ships, execute attack pattern Delta. Fire on my mark." She took a breath, thinking of Harmony Station, of the colonists who had died, of the families torn apart. This was for them. Mark. 20 shadow destroyers opened fire simultaneously. Their kinetic accelerators launched projectiles at 0.3 light speed. The rounds were invisible to the naked eye, moving too fast to track. They crossed the distance to the Vrathan fleet in less than 3 seconds. The Vrathan shields activated automatically, designed to stop energy weapons and deflect or slow physical projectiles. But nothing in their defensive systems could handle the mass and velocity of Earth's weapons. The kinetic rounds punched through the shields like they weren't there. 3 Vrathan cruisers exploded instantly as the projectiles struck their reactor cores. The kinetic energy converted to heat and shock waves that tore the ships apart from the inside. Debris scattered across space in expanding clouds of superheated metal. Veltar stared in horror as 3 of his ships simply ceased to exist. "Return fire! All weapons!" The remaining Vrathan ships opened up with their energy weapons. Beams of concentrated plasma and particle streams reached out toward the human vessels, but the shadow destroyers were already moving, their quantum drives allowing them to accelerate and maneuver in ways that seemed to violate physics. The Vrathan weapons found only empty space. The second volley from the human ships struck home. 4 more Vrathan cruisers died. Their hulls shattered, their crews vaporized. In less than 30 seconds, Veltar had lost half his fleet. "Retreat!" he screamed. "Jump to hyperspace!" His remaining ships tried to activate their faster-than-light drives, and nothing happened. "Sir, our navigation systems are not responding," his helmsman reported in panic. "All computer systems are experiencing errors." "We've been hacked!" On the horizon, Subin sat at a specialized console, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. She was remotely connected to every shadow destroyer in the fleet, coordinating their electronic warfare assault. The Vrathan computer systems had fallen to her AI in 90 seconds, exactly as predicted. "Enemy drives disabled," she reported to G1. "They're not going anywhere." "Excellent," G1 said. "All ships continue engagement. Disable weapons and shields, but leave life support intact. We want prisoners." The one-sided battle continued. The Vrathan ships were helpless, their weapons offline, their shields down, unable to run or fight. The human vessels circled them like predators, placing precise shots that destroyed weapon systems and engine components while leaving the crew sections intact. Commander Veltar sat in his ruined command center, surrounded by dead controls and flickering displays. His mighty warship, which had fought in 100 battles across 3 decades, had been reduced to a floating wreck in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. "This is Captain G1 of the Earth vessel Horizon," a voice said in perfect Vrathan through his communication system, which apparently still worked because the humans allowed it to work. "You have attacked our people. You have taken our citizens. Now you will face justice." Veltar said nothing. What could he say? He had been utterly defeated. While the shadow destroyers secured the Vrathan fleet, 800 Earthfighter craft swept past them, heading for the planet below. They moved in tight formations, their advanced engines leaving trails of light. The planetary defense systems tried to engage them. Automated turrets tracked and fired. Surface-to-space missiles launched. The fighters dodged and weaved through the defensive fire with incredible agility. Their own weapons returned fire, precise and deadly. Turrets exploded. Missile batteries were destroyed. In 10 minutes, the planet's orbital defenses were neutralized. The assault ships came next, larger craft carrying Minsu and his fellow Marines. They dropped through the atmosphere, their heat shields glowing as they descended toward the factory complexes where the human colonists were held. Minsu checked his weapon for the 10th time as his ship shook with atmospheric entry. Around him, his squad sat in armored seats, each locked in their own thoughts. They had trained for this, but training was different from reality. 2 minutes to drop zone, the pilot announced. Colonel Wan Shik stood in the center of the troop compartment. "Remember your training. The colonists are in the northern complex. Vrathan guards are armed and dangerous, but their weapons can't penetrate your armor. Fast and precise. We get our people and we get out." The ship landed hard. The rear ramp dropped. Minsu was up and moving before he could think about being afraid. His squad poured out of the ship into a scene of industrial nightmare. Massive factories stretched in every direction, belching smoke and fire. The sound of machinery was deafening. Vrathan guards opened fire immediately. Energy bolts struck Minsu's armor and dissipated. The new armor, developed alongside the shadow destroyers, used a similar shield technology that distributed energy impacts. The bolts that would have killed him just made him stumble slightly. He raised his weapon and returned fire. The Earth Marines carried advanced plasma rifles that fired faster and hit harder than anything the Vrathan expected. His target went down. Around him, hundreds of other Marines were advancing into the factory complex. The Vrathan guards fought bravely, but they were overwhelmed by numbers, technology, and determination. These were not just soldiers. These were humans fighting to rescue their own people. Minsu's squad reached the northern complex and breached the doors. Inside, they found rows of sleeping pods where colonists rested between shifts. Many were awake now, startled by the sounds of battle outside. "We're Earth Colonial Marines," Minsu shouted. "We're here to take you home." The reaction was instantaneous. Colonists began crying, shouting, reaching out. Some couldn't believe it was real. Others were too exhausted to show emotion. Minsu and his squad moved through the complex, opening every cell, freeing every prisoner. In one of the cells, he found her. Tai Yang's wife, Sora. She looked thin and tired, but alive. She stared at him in shock. "You came," she whispered. "You actually came." "Of course we came," Minsu said, helping her to her feet. "You're one of ours. We never leave our people behind." The evacuation took 3 hours. 1,200 colonists were loaded onto transport ships under the protection of the Marine battalions. A few Vrathan guards tried to organize resistance, but they were quickly neutralized. The factories themselves were left intact. Earth had come for its people, not for conquest. As the last transport lifted off, Min Su looked back at the factory complex. They had done it. Against an enemy that had fought for 300 years, against an empire that controlled thousands of worlds, Earth had struck back and won. Back in orbit, Captain Ji-Wan received reports from all units. The Vrathan fleet was secured. The colonists were rescued. Earth casualties were minimal, just 8 wounded, none killed. She opened a channel to the captured Vrathan flagship. Commander Veltar's face appeared on her screen. He looked broken. "You will be taken to Earth," Ji-Wan told him. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. A Vrathan battle group, destroyed in minutes by human ships. Advanced warships reduced to scrap by unknown weapons. Colonial marines storming a factory world and rescuing prisoners without significant casualties. The story seemed impossible, but it was confirmed by multiple sources. The survivors told the same tale. The sensor logs didn't lie. Earth, the primitive world that everyone had dismissed, had revealed itself to be something else entirely. In the Vrathan capital, the High Command convened an emergency session. The massive chamber held 300 military leaders, admirals and generals who had fought across the galaxy for decades. They watched the tactical recordings from Veltar's fleet in stunned silence. "How is this possible?" one admiral demanded. "Human technology was decades behind ours. They had no weapons capable of this." "Clearly they did," another replied grimly. "And we missed it. Our intelligence failed completely." "It's worse than that," a third admiral said. She brought up projections on the main display. "If these humans can destroy our shields with kinetic weapons, if they can hack our computer systems, if their ships are faster than ours, then we have a serious problem. Every tactical doctrine we've developed is based on assumptions that are no longer valid." The room erupted in argument. Some called for immediate retaliation. Others urged caution. A few suggested suing for peace before Earth struck again. Similar debates were happening in the Keswick Coalition. Their intelligence services had intercepted the same recordings. Their analysts came to the same conclusions. If the humans could defeat the Vrathan so easily, they could defeat the Keswick just as easily. Both empires sent urgent messages to their forward fleets. "Stay away from Earth space. Do not engage human ships. Treat them as a major military power." But Earth wasn't finished sending messages. Ambassador Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of the ESS Horizon as it entered a neutral system at the edge of both empires' territories. This system held a space station that served as a meeting place for diplomats and traders from across the galaxy. It was one of the few places where Vrathan and Keswick could meet without fighting, and now Earth had come here too. The shadow destroyers emerged from quantum drive in perfect formation around the station. Their sudden appearance caused panic. Ships scattered. The station activated its defensive shields and sent out distress calls. "This is Ambassador Hyunwoo of Earth," he broadcast on all frequencies. "We mean no harm to this station or its inhabitants. We have come to deliver a message to the Vrathan Empire and the Keswick Coalition." Slowly, the panic subsided. Ships stopped fleeing. The station lowered its shields cautiously. Within hours, representatives from both empires arrived. The Vrathan sent Admiral Keshvar, a veteran warrior with medals covering his chest. The Keswick sent Counselor Rindal, a diplomat with 6 arms and 3 eyes. They met Hyunwoo in a neutral conference room, surrounded by security forces from all 3 parties. Hyunwoo didn't waste time with pleasantries. "Earth demands that this war ends now." Admiral Keshvar's eyes widened in disbelief. "You cannot be serious. This war has lasted 300 years. You think you can simply demand it stops?" "Yes," Hyunwoo said simply. "You have both seen what our ships can do. Commander Veltar's fleet was destroyed in 5 minutes. We could do the same to any fleet you have. We could strike your homeworlds, your industrial centers, your military bases. We have the capability. Then you are declaring war on both empires?" Counselor Rindal asked, all 3 of his eyes focused intently on Hyunwoo. "No," Hyunwoo replied. "We are declaring peace. Earth does not want to conquer anyone. We don't want your territory or your resources. We want only one thing, for the killing to stop." "Impossible," Keshvar said. "The Keswick destroyed our colonies, killed our people. We cannot forgive that. And the Vrathan have done the same to us," Rindal added. "There is too much blood between us." Hyunwoo leaned forward. "Then there will be even more blood, because if you continue this war, Earth will intervene. We will destroy both your fleets. We will blockade your worlds. We will make it impossible for you to fight. And we will do this not because we want to, but because your war has spread far enough. He brought up a holographic display showing the galaxy. Red markers indicated worlds destroyed in the war. Yellow markers showed refugee crises. Orange markers indicated resource shortages caused by the conflict. The display was covered in colors. 300 years of war, Hyunwoo said quietly. Trillions dead. Thousands of worlds destroyed. Countless species displaced or extinct. And for what? Can either of you even remember how this war started? The two representatives looked at each other. Neither answered immediately. It started with a border dispute, Rindal finally said. A colony ship from our space entered Vrathan territory. They destroyed it. We retaliated. It escalated. 300 years, Hyunwoo repeated. Trillions dead. Over a border dispute. This is madness. This is waste. This needs to end. Your weapons give you strength, Keshvar admitted. But strength alone cannot create peace. There must be terms, reparations, territory adjustments. Justice for crimes committed. Then negotiate those terms, Hyunwoo said. Earth will act as mediator. We have no stake in your territorial disputes. We can be neutral arbiters, but the fighting stops now, or we make it stop. Back on Earth, Subin worked in her laboratory, preparing for the possibility that negotiation would fail. She had designed the weapons that destroyed Veltar's fleet. But those were just the beginning. She had other projects, darker projects, things she hoped would never be used. One display showed schematics for a weapon that could destabilize a star. Another showed plans for self-replicating mining drones that could strip a planet of resources in weeks. A third showed designs for quantum bombs that would make nuclear weapons look like firecrackers. Do you think they'll agree to peace? Her assistant Dong-hyun asked. Subin didn't answer immediately. She stared at her designs, at the instruments of destruction she had created. I hope so, she finally said. Because if they don't, we'll have to use these. And I don't want to be responsible for that kind of destruction. But you'd do it if you had to? To protect Earth? To stop a 300-year war from spreading further? Subin looked at him with tired eyes. Yes, I'd do it. And I'd hate myself for it. On Mars, Minsu and his battalion received heroes' welcomes. The colonists they had rescued were reunited with their families. Taeyang embraced his wife Sora, both of them crying with relief and joy. Around them, similar scenes played out across the colony, but Minsu didn't feel like celebrating. He had killed people during the raid. Vrathan guards just doing their jobs who had died because he shot them. They had been the enemy, but they had also been living beings. The memory troubled him. His commander, Colonel Wan-shik, found him standing alone on an observation deck. You did well down there, Wan-shik said. I killed people, Minsu replied. You saved people, Wan-shik corrected. 1,200 colonists came home because of what you and your squad did. Those Vrathan guards would have kept them in slavery. What you did was necessary. Necessary doesn't mean it feels right. Wan-shik nodded. Good. The day it feels right is the day you've lost your humanity. War should never be easy. It should never feel good. But sometimes it is necessary to protect those who can't protect themselves. The negotiations took 3 months. Ambassador Hyunwoo sat in the conference room day after day, mediating between the Vrathan and Keswick. Both sides had demands. Both sides had grievances. Both sides wanted justice for crimes committed against them. Captain Ji-won kept the shadow destroyers on standby, a constant reminder of Earth's capability. Twice one side or the other threatened to walk away from negotiations. Twice Ji-won moved her fleet into position and the talks resumed. Slowly, painfully, an agreement took shape. A demilitarized zone between the empires. Reparations to be paid by both sides. A tribunal to investigate war crimes, prisoner exchanges. Humanitarian aid for refugee populations. It wasn't perfect. Both sides were unhappy with various terms. But it was better than 300 more years of war. The treaty was signed on neutral ground with Hyunwoo as witness. The Vrathan and Keswick leaders put their marks on the document, and for the first time in 3 centuries the galaxy was at peace. Or at least, not at war. News of the treaty spread quickly. Some celebrated, others were skeptical. Many wondered how long it would last. But everyone knew one thing. Earth had changed everything. The primitive planet that everyone had dismissed had revealed itself to be a major power. A power with advanced technology, skilled warriors, and the will to use both when necessary. More importantly, Earth had shown that it cared about more than just itself. It had intervened not for conquest but to stop suffering. It had used its strength not to dominate but to create peace. The galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. In his office, Hyun-woo looked at the signed treaty and felt a mixture of relief and exhaustion. They had done it. Against all odds, Earth had forced peace on two ancient empires, but he knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was a dangerous place. There would be other threats, other challenges. Earth had revealed its strength, which meant it could no longer hide in isolation. They were